Okay, so Mike and I are hosting a session for school leaders. There's been, just an increased interest in how to adopt the Beekeeper to create a thriving hive in our schools. And so we're about to let these school leaders into the room where we could take them through just some highlights in the book and ways that we can implement it in our schools. So let me let everyone in.
Are you seeing the screen, Katie, or no?
Yes. Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Thanks for
Good
hopping
to
on.
see everyone. We still have some people joining, so we'll give a couple minutes here. Okay. So as people are coming in, we're mindful of time. And so we want to make sure that we're optimizing this 30 minutes that we have together. We were so excited with, just the level of interest in our book, The Beekeeper. We're really excited to be here with all of you. And special thanks to April, for sharing that picture of the book and, that kind of like aha moment where she said, I don't know where this came from, but I read it in one sitting, right? And I had this really great response about, how I might think about this as a school leader. And so, April, is there anything that you want to say in the opening to everyone who's here before Mike and I kind of take everyone through just the tenets of the book?
Sure. Just like Katie said, kind of came back from a field trip and there was the book and it sat there for a little while. And then I was going home on the weekend. I was like, yeah, I guess I'll take it home. I'll read it. We'll see what it is. I'll read it. And went through, started reading it, in an afternoon sitting on my back deck in the sun and almost made it through the whole thing. Biggest thing that I felt like it was very relatable. The fact that it was a story and that you could follow the story, but the message that came through the story. And right now, my school is going through a whole lot of transition as we're trying to rebrand and remodel and kind of create something different in my school. And I felt so we're in a big place for trying to produce growth in my school. I'm a charter school, so we have to attract our students. We're a school of choice, so therefore, the big thing on growth is very important. So, just being able to take in a lot of the messages about being able to nurture and take care of your people in your building and how, this one piece by nurturing this piece and this piece, that it all works together and takes care of itself. It was just a lot of good messages. So I look forward to going through it. I bought it for my entire leadership team. I'm probably part of the reason why Amazon is out of the books, but I bought it for my entire leadership team for us to go through this summer and talk about as we go into next year, and really want to be able to even take it into my grade level leads and all of that. So, I was very happy to be part of this and to be part of sharing it with other people.
So well said, April. Thank you. And thank you for being the reason that the book was sold out on Amazon, right? Talk about a pollinator, right? Creating buzz about something. This really was, something that went viral. And a lot of, principals and school leaders that are part of your principals group were texting Mike and I to say, have you seen this, right? Everyone's talking about your book. Which is what we hoped would happen. And so, April said some really important things. Her school's going through change. The story, right? The fable nature of the book was something that was easily digestible and, right, taking away those tenets that we can apply it. That was really our intention. And so, Mike and I will give you a little bit of a history of our point of entry in this work. And really, in the spirit of the research that we've been doing for over a decade now, it's really about human performance at work, right? And fill in work wherever you are, with a team, in a group, at a school, in a classroom, right? In your organization. How do we just help people learn and grow in a way that becomes part of what we do? Right. And so when we thought about writing this book, and Mike's going to go into a little bit about, how this book came to be, right? Pun intended. But there's really something here that April illuminated on. And that's what we'll get to in the Bee Mindsets, in how you perceive, right, the book to be meaningful for you. And then how you can create that environment for people to, right, read the book and have their own interpretation of who and how they choose to be. And so we're able then to open up dialogue in that spirit of growth and change to make sure that we're welcoming space, right, for diversity of thought and voice. And so, Mike, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you so you can share with everyone a little bit about how
thanks for
the
kicking it
story
off.
came to life.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, April. Thanks, Katie. It's good to see everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Mike Freno. Let me just share with you about kind of the art of discovery. I mean, Katie mentioned it briefly, but we are both at the core researchers. And so, Katie has a consulting company. I work in corporate America and in the leadership development space. And we happen to both be in Chicago, on May 2nd last year. And we got together and met, and we got our doctorates in organizational learning and leadership. So that's really kind of where Katie and I met. And then we also started publishing a lot in performance improvement journals in the academic space. And that was kind of our go-to spot to write and kind of pollinate others. And so we came up with this idea during this, meeting in Chicago. We were literally grabbing some pizza, and that is the picture of the pizza box on the right-hand side. You can see it with our chicken scratch and pizza stains all over it. But we were kind of mapping out and brainstorming on like, what could this be? And we really thought about the bee as someone who is the source of pollination for everything around us, the environment, the food we eat, the beautiful flowers. And we wanted to kind of take that concept and think about how does this apply to organizations and teams and schools. And ironically enough, it was kind of one of those universe moments that, like, really 18 days after that meeting, we had this pizza box and kind of some concepts. Our newsfeed hit that it was UN World Bee Day, which I didn't even know anything about until really that May 20th day. And I said, all right, this is a universe moment. We got to kind of start writing about the bees and how it applies to culture. And that's kind of how we went on a journey. And so as we think about the story we're about to tell you, we had to research. We are not beekeepers. We've never done that, but we wanted to make sure we did the research. And Katie will talk a little bit about why we had such a great time writing this book and how the lessons are accurate to what the beekeeper does for his hive or her hive.
Yeah, Mike, so well said. And, I think it's important for everyone to know, Mike works in a corporate space, and I work in higher education as a faculty member in the School of Business. And when we think about the application of this work, we were acknowledging, right, that regardless of where we apply this, right, it really is applicable to any human being as we're thinking about growth. But we wanted to get into the undertone of when we think about a beekeeper, what does that mean? And we saw these opportunities to actually engage our children. And so you see Mike's daughter is in one of the pictures, and my daughter is in one of the pictures with me, that we actually went out to beehives and we started to explore, what does it mean to be a beekeeper, to create a thriving hive, to create a safe space for the bees to do what they know how to do best. And that is to pollinate, to help things grow. And we thought about the kind of transferable lessons that we can learn there when we create an environment, right, to help pollination happen, right, to help things grow. And sometimes that means that we have to remove things from the environment, right? Sometimes that means that we need a new queen, right, to come in to help to make sure that growth is happening. But there's a lot of aha moments and assessments of what it means to create a thriving hive. And so we included our kids, right, in this process of research. And so as Mike mentioned to you at the kind of core of what we do is research, but it became something that was in a more hands-on traditional sense as we were writing this book, and less in like that academic space that we had done, right, for 10 years prior. And so for us, and this is important for everyone here, we really moved ourselves out of our own comfort zones, right, to write this fable, to think about how we do research in a more, applicable, hands-on, transferable way. And then for the ways that we can just allow people to think about the ways they want to interpret this, to be able to apply it to whatever, work they're doing with and through others. Okay. And so I'm going to turn it over to Mike. In the book, we talk about the art of learning to be proximal. And so Mike's going to talk about what that means, but how that might resonate with you as you're thinking about creating a school culture, right, to create a thriving hive.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. I'd be remiss if I didn't comment that. So my daughter's in the middle there. We stumbled upon this beehive and went with the Beekeeper. It's not like, Katie's daughter's all in protective clothing. Mine's not. So, it was nothing like we were just gallivanting around the beehives with no protective clothing. But anyway, super cool experience to do this research, and well said, Katie. I'm going to go through kind of this concept of the art of learning to be proximal. So the definition of proximal is really at the center, right? At the heart. And so it is a medical term that physicians use, to proximal part of the body closest to the heart. And so what we try to instill through this book is that, how do you as educators, leaders, principals, put yourself at the center of learning and growth? How are you putting yourself at the proximal part of your school where you are all things growth for them? And that's what the art of learning to be proximal really is. It's taking that concept and saying, you are the core and you are the center and the heart of everyone's growth. And we have to think about that as leaders. And when you think about bees, this is just a really great example that I was on a walk, and this is Southwest Florida here. And you can see these two bees, right? They go right to the center of the flower. They're getting ready to pollinate other flowers and go back to their hive. And they're working together as growth partners. They're pollinating together. And that's where they get their fuel, from the center of the flower. And so that really goes back to the core tenets of really what the art of learning to be proximal is. And we're going to talk about a couple of these now. And so these are the three kind of concepts we want to introduce to you as you think about creating a thriving hive at your school. So first, it's finding a growth partner. You saw those two bees, right? You have to have someone that holds you accountable to growth. Katie and I work as growth partners. It's not an easy task. It's much like a mentorship, but we are all running towards the same direction, and we have to really work together to understand what our growth needs are. And that's relationship building. That's understanding what the other person needs and how you can support them through that. And really listening and taking an active listening role, and making sure that you understand what your growth partner needs, and how what the growth partner knows that you need, and how you can work together to really create a thriving environment. And that's what the bees do. They all work together for the hive success. And for those of us who've read the book, that kind of turns into the second core tenet of identifying bee mindset. So in the book, you kind of saw Henry, if you read it, as Catherine's growth partner, and they talked a lot about these bee mindsets, on being curious. And Catherine was kind of making the connections on, oh my gosh, this is such an interesting concept. How does it apply back to my business? And she was relating it back to choosing how you want to be and sharing that with her leadership team. And so we offered some bee mindsets in the book, but that was not an exhaustive list, right? So when we think about value creation for your school or for your hive or for your organization, right, you can choose how you want to be as a school and come up with those bee mindsets to help you establish, how is my hive going to operate? And if this is your theme for 2024, as you emerge, how do you want to be as a school and a district? And so the last piece I'll turn over to Katie to talk about, but it's really the platinum rule and the concept of unlearning. So I'll turn it over to you, Katie, to discuss that.
Thank you, Mike. So well said. So I'll ask someone to come off mute. Who could tell me here what the golden rule is? Does anyone know what the golden rule is?
Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask all educators on the call to unlearn the golden rule, right? So we know as educators, unlearning is harder than learning sometimes, right? Unlearning the way we think, the way we do things, right, is more difficult than learning new things. And so in the spirit of this, right, we touch on this a bit in the book, is unlearning the golden rule. People don't want to be treated the same way you do. People want to be treated how they want to be treated. And that's the platinum rule. And so we identify this at the end of the book when the bee goes, right? The bee on the wall behind the scenes, that we identify how people respond to Catherine's emails and to change different. And we have to give people permission in that space to respond different than us, right? That's really that space of deep level diversity of thought and voice. We're welcoming different personality and behavioral attributes. We're allowing human beings to show up with different bee mindsets that we could get to the same goal in different ways. And so in the spirit of the platinum rule, that means that we're showing up listening to understand instead of listening to respond, right? And so it gives us this opportunity, if we flip over to the next slide, right, that we're really thinking about from a leadership perspective, that we're thinking about the tri-level of leadership. And we know, right, as school leaders, that leadership starts with you, with the individual. We are not effective leaders if we don't first understand ourselves, how we show up, how we think, how we prioritize energy, what our impact is on others. And then we have to be able to create that authority and accountability for the people in our schools. How do you show up? What is your impact on others? How do you own that? How are you choosing who and how you want to be? And then that extends into the group level, how we interact working with and through others, how we interact with our students, how we interact with parents, right? And at the organizational level, right, that we're really able to create this environment, right, that has an undertone of psychological safety and encouragement for deep level diversity for us to come together, right, to create that thriving hive as individuals, right? And then at the group level. Okay. And so, this is a space for Mike and I, right? As we were thinking about, the buzz about the Beekeeper, last week, we were actually in New York City. Our book was in the window at Barnes & Noble on Fifth Avenue. And we had lots of questions, right, from people about, how did you expect for this buzz to happen? And it really became something that, when we were identified as a top 5 on the Wall Street Journal bestseller list last month in business, it was something for us to really think about. We had this expectation of pollination. How do we reach out across the world and just help people recognize their big potential, right? Help people grow. And so this slide is like an emotional one for me, especially to see all the people here today on this Zoom call, right, that are curious about how you could be pollinators too. But we also want to welcome, in the spirit of this, right, of our goals, that Mike and I really want to become a resource to help all of you continue, right, to reach your goals, to help you and others grow. And so we've been working kind of behind the scenes over the last few weeks on growth guides. And so we just published a growth guide for schools. And I just dropped our website in the chat. You could go onto our website, leadershipfables.com, and we're populating all of these growth guides. But there's one in there for your school that you can use as a guide to just help take you through the book, right? And to think about the applicable ways for you, right, to continue to help pollinate. And so I'm mindful of time and curiosity. And so I want to just pause here and just open it up for questions. So come off mute if you have questions, comments, things that are on your mind. We're happy to walk through those with you in the remaining time we have.
I will comment while we're waiting for someone to chime in that a lot of these guides, the individual guide, team guide, organization guide, can really be applied to your schools as well. But we did tailor one specific for schools. So if you're looking for more than that, please dive in and look at them all, because I think they all could be applicable for your teachers and educators, even for your administrative team and for the school overall. So lots of opportunities.
So I first heard about this book on the Principal's Desk Facebook page. I asked my daughter, who's 17, how can I listen to this book? Couldn't wait to order it. So she downloaded it on our county library system, and I heard it within a day and a half. It was already read. I instantly put it on my Facebook page for teacher leaders. I am a brand new principal. April 18th is when I was board approved, and I get the privilege of leading our county's first early childhood center of our county. So because it's a brand new school, I had already thought about our themes, and I'm going with, teachers plant the seeds of knowledge. And so we're going to go with a gardening theme. So this book right away, I thought next spring on our National Bee Day, I thought it'd be a great way of starting that last quarter of school and then kicking off the next school year with this as being our theme.
I love this so much. So first, congratulations. I got the chills when you talked about this new role, right? And kind of being a pioneer in that space. But what a great prelude, right? Coming in as a new principal, talking about planting seeds, right? What we give our time and energy to grows. So let's plant those seeds and water them, right? This takes time. As we're thinking about culture, right? It's not just something that happens overnight, but as we plant those seeds and water, right? We start to see behavior change to the ways that we want, especially as we're thinking about how much has changed post-pandemic, right? Which was something that really inspired a lot of this work for Mike and I too, when we're thinking about how people have changed, right? Coming into workspaces and what those needs are and the importance of culture, right? When we're looking at helping people rise. So Jo Mary, thank you for sharing that.
There's something in the chat here. I read this book this weekend and then framed up my entry plan for new leadership job interview yesterday. It's pretty much perfect to support me, a new role in addition to over 3 copies. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it's again, you think about choosing how to be and how to use the information. I mean, using it for an interview is just remarkable, right? I think that's an amazing way to think through how you would lead. And, if you take some of the examples that Catherine had and some of the aha moments she had through the book, I think extrapolating some of those to as you emerge into leadership is a great example.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Good. So does anyone else have any questions or anything that would be helpful to you as you're thinking about a summer read, as you're thinking about how you might apply this, how it might be, something that you could use in smaller groups or larger groups? We're happy to answer any of those questions. Okay, so everyone, what we'll do is,
I'm sorry. I was having a hard time getting my video to come
on. That's okay.
So I read the book cover to cover Saturday as well. And I actually posted on Instagram because we're the Sweat Bees. So this could not be more timely. We've got a lot of change, a lot of transition. I'm a director of schools, have been in the principal role as well, but we're a 1 school district. So I'm in the building with my staff. And just, this again couldn't have come at a better time, but I love our focus. Obviously, next year, we're really turning it from the teacher center to student learning. And so the growth and, I've written all in it already. Just, I'm so excited to be able to take what you have, take your growth guides. I'm redoing my leadership team based on the book because it needs to be student facing. It needs to be those hands-on kids, people in the position that are hands-on with kids, not my district office staff, which I don't have many of, but just like I underline the support, they support the growth and development of the hive and pollinate the environment to nourish the environment around them. That's my leadership team. That's what they need to do, but they're the ones who need to be touching those kids. And so I just want to say thank you because this hit me at a time I needed it more than anything else right now. This has become my second Bible behind my first. So anyway, just kudos to both of you for what you've done. And it's exciting to see other principals and other people, because I think if we lead this way, it's servant leadership. And that's what it's all about.
Trish, thank you. I have the chills, and what you're saying is so meaningful. Really, this is why Mike and I do the work we do, right? We just care so much about helping, right? People grow around us. This is our driver. And to realize those aha moments or things that even Trish said, like, I need to make some changes, right? And unlearn the way that we've always done it. And as I'm becoming more student-centered, I'm making meaningful changes that help me be intentional, right, in that goal. And so, to have the agency to be able to see those opportunities is part of, I think, the brilliance of us doing this together.
Katie, there was somebody put something in the chat regarding how can they stay in contact. And so, as you see on the screen, if you're still seeing it, we have a Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I don't know if you guys are on LinkedIn, but that's a good spot. We do have a YouTube channel that you can follow. We do webcasts and webinars. We'll likely, put this recording up there as well, just to kind of keep people engaged on, any new information that we have at. And somebody else asked that, are we writing is there going to be a series? And as you can see by the title, Leadership Fables, like Katie and I at our core like to write and research. So, we do plan one day to kind of continue the journey of the Beekeeper in different ways. So hopefully that'll come to fruition someday. And so I did have a question. Do we need, just for the group, do we need a guide that will help teachers apply this to students? Would that be helpful for you as we think about creating more resources? How can teachers, take this concept and bring it to the students if we were to do that? Okay, that's great to know.
I will tell everyone that my 5th grader read the book, at the beginning of her 5th grade year, and was so inspired of how she's thinking about this, even on her soccer team. And so, I think there's ways as we're thinking about that culture, right, of how we want students to show up, right, who and how they want to be, and they get to choose that, right? As we go through life, I think sometimes we forget that, like, we get to author our story, and we just have to be able to hold the pen to author it the way we want to author it. And so I think to give, right, that volition to choose is something that we could start at a really young age, in considering and encouraging the behaviors we want to see more of.
So many good suggestions in the chat. I'm just trying to respond, and did I spell that right? Yeah. All right. There you go.
Good. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for hopping on.
Yeah, for your inspiration. And thank you for sharing the ways that you're using the book. We'll stay in touch. Obviously, contact us through social media. We're on the principals page. You can reach out to us through our website. We have a chat through that. But let us know just how we can continue to support ongoing learning and growth. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
have
everyone.
a wonderful day.
Take care.
Thank you.
Great
Thank
summer.
you for letting me be a part.
Yeah, you're welcome.